Hey guys, I'm Kyle at Servo City, and today I'm going to talk to you about screws and bolts. So screws and bolts are basically the same thing, just comes down to how you use them. While a screw goes into a tapped hole, a bolt is going to go through a series of through holes, usually to clamp two pieces of material together, and then you put a nut on the backside to capture it. So there are many different head styles on machine screws or machine bolts, and today I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the different styles and why you might use those. So first off, I have a hex screw, and that's just kind of your regular style screw. You see those all over the place. You would tighten it down with a wrench or with a socket. If you put that on a soft material, you're going to want to put a washer underneath. That way the corners don't cut into the material. Next in line is a pan head screw, and it's also a very common screw. It's a rounded head, has a fairly large diameter, so you get a lot of contact underneath it, in between it and the surface. And usually the drive style is a Phillips head, but it can also be a slot or a combination of the two. Similar to the pan head screw, this is a very tiny one, but this is a Japanese standard pan head screw, and similar characteristics but a little different shape. It's a little more squared off, but it's also considered a pan head. Next is a truss head screw, and like the pan head, it's commonly a Phillips drive, but this is going to be a little bit lower, so if you have a low clearance application or you don't want the head getting caught on anything, this is a very good screw style. And it's larger in diameter yet, so there's even more contact between it and the surface. It's good when used on soft surfaces, that way it doesn't dig in. Next is a flathead screw. It's a little bit different in that instead of going into a standard hole, this needs to go into a countersunk hole. And there's a V shape on this head style, so it's going to fit down flush. It's good for low clearance applications where you can't have the head sticking up and getting caught on anything. The standard degree for a flathead screw is 82 degrees. That's the angle of the little cone shaped hole that you make. However, some of the metric screws run at 90 degrees, so be careful that if you're countersinking a hole, you get the right countersink for that screw. Now when I say flathead on this screw, what I mean is the top of the head is actually flat. So it's going to fit down flush with the surface that you mount this to. This screw is going to be measured from the very top to the very bottom, where most screws are measured from the bottom of the head, since the head is actually sticking up above the surface. But a lot of times people get confused because when you say flathead, they think of a flathead screwdriver. So they're looking around for a screw that has a slot in it for the drive style. But flathead means it's a cone-shaped screw to go into a countersunk hole. The next one is a carriage bolt, and that's kind of the oddball out of the bunch. This is commonly used in soft materials like wood, for example. You can see it a lot of times in a play set. And basically, the carriage bolt, when you tighten it down, it's going to cut down into the material, and it's actually going to capture itself so it does not rotate. So you'd usually just put a nut on the far side and tighten that guy up. You wouldn't be able to use this as a screw, so it's always called a carriage bolt because there's no way for you to drive this end, so you have to put a nut on the far side. Next in line is a button head socket cap screw. So the head shape on this is very similar to a pan head, but the drive style is going to be a hex, so you use an Allen key to tighten that one down. It's real similar diameter, so you get the same surface area underneath the screw on that. Okay, next is the socket head cap screw, and this one's going to have the same drive style as the button head, but it's going to be a different profile on the head. It's more squared off, it's taller, but it's smaller diameter, so you have a little less contact underneath. So if you have a soft material, this may tend to sink down in there if you don't have a washer underneath. Socket head cap screw is really nice because you can put it right up next to the edge of something, like the wall of our channel, for example, and the tool to tighten that is going to go down inside. You know, it's a hex key, so you don't need additional clearance between that wall and the side of the screw. The other nice thing about a socket head screw as opposed to a button head screw is the depth of the hex is a lot deeper, so you have more contact between the tool and the screw, and it's less likely to strip out. Last one for today is going to be a low head clearance socket head cap screw, It's very, very similar to the standard socket head cap screw, but it's just shorter. So it's going to be good for low clearance applications where you just don't have the room for that head to stick up. One thing to mention on that is with the same size screw as a normal socket head is typically a smaller hex style, so you're going to have to use a smaller hex key to drive that one into place, and therefore you're not going to be able to get quite as much torque on the screw. You'll probably run into some different head styles when working on projects, but these are going to be some of the most common ones that get used. Hopefully the information in this video will allow you to make the right fastener selection for your project. If you have any questions, be sure to email tech@servocity.com, and if you like the video, go ahead and hit the like button.